Guys, this is Josh Sedevy with Tightline Outdoors. We got a nice 22.5-inch late summertime walleye. Pretty much what we're doing today is just jigging wraps. So right now what we're seeing is a lot of those small shad balls. So I was trolling around the lake, running anywhere from 5 feet under the surface to about 7.5, 8 feet, depending on where in the lake I was seeing those little pods of shad stage. Went over this kind of a little hump out in the middle of nowhere. Saw some fish on it, so I pulled all the trolling gear up. First pitch back, we ended up with a nice walleye. So that's kind of the deal for Denver, any of these East Metro type areas along the Front Range. This walleye bite's going to be really good. We've got that shad forage base. It's getting viable enough for those fish to push off of structure and start suspending, just following those bait fish around. So anywhere where you see that contour change in the middle of the day, whether it be 5 feet, 10 feet, anywhere from 25 to probably 10 feet below the surface, that's where you're going to find those predator fish. So mainly the walleye right now, we're finding them pretty well stacked up in there, if they're not just out roaming suspended, staying with those big balls of shad. The smallmouth bite that we have going on right now is still really good. Those, we're looking at more of that rock type structure, especially that deeper break, anywhere from that 16-ish feet of water down to 21, 22 feet. We're finding those bigger smallmouth. You want to chase the small ones, you can go up and pitch pretty much to shore. They're pretty well loaded in there. As far as our South Park range, the pike and trout are going really good. Trout are kind of finicky right now. We've got a lot of hatches going off, but they're a lot smaller than what we typically see this time of year. So a lot of our damsel hatches, which are usually our strongest hatch this time of year, they're just not coming off as good as what we typically see. So we've kind of backed away from the fly trips and are doing a lot more casting trips. Those 2.5 to 3.5 inch size tube jigs has been our best producing bait, especially on those little bit windier days. When you get that flat, calm condition, you're better off to stick with Taz's. Taz's just allow you to get that bait further from the boat, and with super calm conditions this type of year, those fish are a lot spookier, especially when we get into that 3-4 foot or less range. As far as water depth, those Taz's just allow us to work that bait for a longer period of time before those fish can start feeling the boat's presence. So any of those weed to mud transitions have been really good. Any of those deeper weed edges, typically on those deeper weed edges, we're looking on the downwind side of those weed edges. That's typically what is blowing those little microorganisms, those nymphs and that kind of stuff, those little leeches, scuds, blowing it off of the weeds, and those fish are on the downwind side picking those up as they come off. Our pike has been phenomenal. You can do anything you want right now, but the bite that I would probably choose to talk about would be the topwater bite. It's a little bit early this year, but it has been awesome. Getting a bunch of blow-ups, super shallow water. It's all visible. We're getting 40 inchers as well as a bunch of those smaller 30s and sub 20s or sub 30 inch fish down to those little hammer handles. So super fun technique. Biggest thing with that is just getting a good bait that works super easy at slow speeds, and then being able to work that bait as soon as it hits the water. So like on our buzz baits, we're picking bass style buzz baits, and then I'm beefing that bait up with a 5 or 6 inch split tail minnow. What that does is that gives that bait a lot more buoyancy as you're pulling it back, so you can work that bait through the top of the water at a lot slower speed, as well as just bulk up that presentation. Give those fish something that they can feel, something that they can see, and something that is meaningful for them to come out of the weeds and put forth some effort to get into their mouth. So this time of year, especially up in South Park, any of those upsized presentations that you can work slow and put in those fish's face for a long period of time, like topwater, is going to be super effective. So with our walleye, it's anything from trolling crankbaits to jigging wraps, your normal presentation, just that rip snap type presentation on your jigging wraps, and then your trolling presentations, we can pick up that speed quite a bit. So super fun time of year, as long as you don't mind dealing with the heat. Hopefully we get some cloud cover like we just had coming over today, and this bite just gets better as we get into the fall. So that's kind of where we're sitting right now. This is the first week of August. Like I said, we're at a pretty good spot for big fish this time of year. Whether you're wanting to chase walleyes with jigging wraps or trolling presentations, you want to go up to South Park and catch your biggest trout of the year or your biggest pike of the year. Phenomenal time to get out on the water. Hopefully you guys stay cool. Have a good one.